Let's start with the front page of the Daily Nation. Court freezing assets of farm in Dams Row, and then we'll get to the issue of the doctors and as well as the papers being, the paper bags being banned again. And Jakoyo, I'd start with you. The court freezing these assets of the farm in the Dams Row, is that enough? Do you think this is heading the right direction?
A very right direction.
Yeah.
You know, I don't like what the courts have been doing lately.
Yeah.
But when they do a good thing, you give it to them. I think the courts, having done their part, I think the DCI need to move in and arrest these thieves. Basically, freezing assets is not enough because you do not know that all the stolen money has been used in these assets. Could well be stashed somewhere in this secret bank places. So I think we need to put these people behind bars. And I think Kenyans, basically, what I hear, if what I hear is true, and I think it is, Kenyans are paying for the bloods of these looters. And I think nothing will stop us from doing so as long as we don't arrest individuals, because these shadowy figures are not thieves. Thieves are individuals known, and many of them, we see them going for questioning. The ones who are not culpable need to walk home. But if monies are missing, somebody stole it. And Kenya is heavily policed. I think we could figure it out.
And thinking of questioning, do you feel as if the DPP and the DCI are well resourced?
Well, I saw the chairman of a security committee, Honorable Koinange, saying they have given the DCI a lot more money than they had before, which I think is a good thing. I think the politicians making noise against the DCI are out of order. I also think to protect a thief is corruption. I think it's even a much bigger corruption. I've said it in another fora that the DCI and the DPP to succeed, they need to begin by investigating the institutions charged with fighting corruption, beginning with Parliament, beginning with the church that disseminates information, and EACC, which is basically an institution that sits in a stolen government property. You know, you begin from there. The EACC can only survive in good image with Kenyans if the house it sits on is taken away from the thieves and 3-4 Kenya. They have just stolen billions and they are again renting government property to Kenyans.
Right.
So I think the DCI needs to begin from the top. I also detest the argument that why are you picking only 2 dams? In the case of these dams, why are you picking only 2 dams and yet there are 15 others? I said yesterday in another forum, if you went to your shamba, is it not true that you must begin digging from somewhere? The plowing must begin from somewhere. And I think this country is shocked. We are caught flat-footed because we never imagined in our lifetime there would be a Kinoti and a Haji. We never imagined it. And so it's happening to us. For us who are just citizens, it is good to support them. It is good to subdue the political class. And if we don't do it, we will not have much of a country.
All right, Shiv, from an investment perspective, what does such headlines do to investor confidence? Because there's 2 sides. Either investors will think that if I have to invest in Kenya, then I need to know someone and bribe my way into it. Or the other ones is that you can easily do business with the government as long as you have connections.
I think it's actually quite the opposite from where we sit, cite an institutional investor perspective. When you see an economy starting to fight corruption in the way that Kenya has started to fight corruption with the empowering of the judiciary, yes, the arc of justice is long, but eventually it bends towards justice in this country. It might take long for you to achieve it, but historically it's shown that you do end up getting justice. From an investor confidence perspective, this is what investors want to see. Just using a similar example of what Lee Kuan Yew did in Singapore, where for them to be able to achieve sustained 30 years of north of 7% to 8% economic growth, you cut out corruption. And corruption always starts at home. You always have to ask yourself, where does corruption actually start? So from an investor confidence perspective, it's actually good, because foreign investors who have been, or even local investors who have been used to best global practices, transparency, the right appropriation of funds, will now look at it and say, we are glad that the economies and the government and those responsible with bringing people to justice are actually doing their work. Allegations that are there against many individuals, many companies, it's important that they go through the right trial, the right methods to determine their culpability on the matter. We should also not jump to conclusions as to whether someone is guilty or not, but take it through the right process, give everyone a fair hearing, and then ensure at the end of the day that justice is brought.
Right. Chief, just help us understand, what does it take for a bank to be considered, not a bank rather, but a business to be considered bankrupt?
At that point in time, you're unable to pay off your obligations.
Right.
So in any tough economic environment, you see a number of businesses go in, start filing for administration, looking at different ways in which they can pay off those who they owe money. So it's effectively the business turning around and saying, look, my business operations can't support me to pay off suppliers, creditors,
and so there should be no way that you're paid to carry out a business if you just already determined that you can't sustain it.
At that point in time, in most cases, you would then declare yourself insolvent, bankrupt, place yourself under administration. Someone else would then come in, run the business for you.
Yeah.
In most cases, like a receiver, an administrator, look at how they can use the assets of the business to pay off the business, or is the business a good business as a going concern? All right.
Peter, what do you make of this fight against corruption?
I think it's in the right direction, because investors previously have shied away from coming to invest in Kenya because of they know that when they come, there are so much red tapes. They are going to face challenges in that they have to do kickbacks. You know, when an investor is not sure of his investment when it comes to the country, it gets that you will go to other favorable countries where there's the condition environment is good for investment. So I want to commend the judiciary, also the presidency, executive, because the fight against corruption, it's in the right direction. So if it is sustained and these people are brought to book and there is good business environment, I think we are going to experience a good economic growth.
Peter, you are in real estate.
Yes.
And real estate generally is one of the key areas, whether you're in Kenya, South Africa, Nigeria, whether you're in Singapore, whether you are in America. Real estate is one of the key places that a lot of people put money into, buy assets. It's a way of cleaning money laundering or any other way. Generally speaking, and not just tying it to Kenya, how does corruption impact or influence real estate?
It has an adverse effect, corruption. Corruption has an adverse effect on real estate because we find that in a case like money laundering or this corruption, when they steal this money, they come to real estate to clean it. Because that's the, you know, every sector, when you make money, even if you're in different industry, different sector, you come to invest in real estate. So the long-term effect is that we see like cost of land or cost of construction will go up.
And pricings of homes
and pricing of homes will go up because there is so much money in the market, and this money it has not gone through the process of the economy that this source of money is not justified. It's through corruption, it's through money laundering. So you find that genuine developers or investors in real estate are affected. And when they are affected, the common mwananchi or the home buyer is also affected because cost of houses, cost of land will skyrocket.
So owning a home becomes more difficult for Kenyans?
It becomes more difficult for Kenyans.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, Felix, you are not only a tech entrepreneur, but you're also the CEO of Legibra. Have I pronounced that right?
Yes, that's right.
All right. So technically speaking, what can blockchain, and blockchain generally for our viewers is an open ledger. Think of it as putting all cards on the deck. What can blockchain system, the blockchain technology do in terms of helping fight corruption in Kenya? We already have a blockchain association. I would want to think that they would be first and forefront in the fight of corruption to see how technology can combat.
Okay. First of all, I think on the dam saga, it's very welcome to actually freeze the assets. And from an entrepreneur point of view, I believe the action that the government is taking and what Mheshimiwa has said is actually a sword that cuts both ways. But from an entrepreneur point of view, this is the advantage and the disadvantage. The advantage is for the real entrepreneur. A real entrepreneur thrives in a perfect environment where it is actually what they are doing that actually gives them the results that they want to get.
Right.
But a wannabe entrepreneur is actually someone who is thriving on some back door, like what you said, I know somebody, I can go get a tender and supply. That is not a real businessman, that is not a real entrepreneur. So when assets like this are frozen, the wannabe entrepreneurs are put aside, because they are the ones who are just go, they actually come to the coffers, grab and keep for themselves.
Right.
But a real entrepreneur is doing their business the right way. So a real entrepreneur will never be caught up in this. Now let me move to blockchain and technology. Technology is the solution to all the problems that we have in Africa. And we are lucky such that the rest of the world has had to go over 50 to 100 years to actually get to the efficiency that they have. But we are taking less than 50 years to actually get to that point. Blockchain as a technology is being confused with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the currency that is the main currency that has been running on blockchain. But blockchain, if implemented, like for example in procurement, will actually ensure that you see reports on media that companies are owned by board members.
Right.
A blockchain system would automatically get rid of all those companies from the system.
By encouraging transparency.
Yes, exactly, because automatically the system does everything. So what we do is we eliminate human error. And the human error is where the corruption comes in. Because it's I know you and I want to give you the job because we can talk after this and you can give me my cut. But the system doesn't know you. It doesn't know your friend, it doesn't know your relative. All it knows that if your ID, your PIN number, and everything else matches, you are not eligible to this. Now, there's something that is always in the tender that says that if you're a relative or you have somebody who works in this company, please disclose and don't apply. Blockchain can actually ensure that is automatic.
Wow.
You do not have to ask people. So what we need to do as the people who set the policy and everybody else is we actually need to move all our systems of operations from government to private sector to use technology. And when that is done, Kenya will be a clean country and we will be happy with it. We do not have to fight Kinoti, we do not have to fight EACC, and Mheshimiwa will be happy because they'll have more resources in parliament to actually put in development and other things that we need instead of having so many committees and everything else.